Imagine a gently rising crescendo in voice, warm yet commanding like a trusted guide speaking directly to your heart. Picture this: someone you love, bright, sharp, full of stories, starts to close in on themselves. A remark here, a murmur there, until the laughter fades. It happens so subtly. It's not wrinkles or slow steps that drive friends away. It's tiny shifts, a persistent complaint, a fading smile, doors left unopened inside the soul. Today I invite you on a journey into 12 ugly things seniors do as they age that no one tells you. Yes, but not out of cruelty. These are the unseen cracks, habits born not of ill intent, but of pain, of adaptation, of human fragility. But at the end of this journey, we don't leave you in despair. We'll shine a light on how to turn the tide, how to reconnect, how care can replace distance. Let's step bravely into that light together. When we think about aging, we often focus on the obvious signs: gray hair, slower steps, maybe a few more visits to the doctor. But there's something far less visible, something that can be far more damaging than we realize, and it happens quietly. It's when seniors begin to withdraw without meaning to, not because they don't love their families or enjoy company, but because of small, unintentional habits that slowly push people away. Think about it. How many times have you heard someone say, "I just don't visit anymore, they always seem unhappy," or "It's hard to have a conversation without it turning negative"? These aren't malicious actions. They're often a mix of frustration, discomfort, or simply adjusting to the realities of an aging body and mind. But over time, they create distance. Imagine a person who once loved to host family dinners. As the years go on, pain sets in, energy drops, and conversations become more about doctor's visits, aches, or fears about the future. They may not notice how often they're talking about loss or regret. They may not realize that subtle negativity, complaints about the news, about young people, about the world, starts to replace light-hearted conversation. Gradually, friends visit less often, calls get shorter, loneliness creeps in, not because the person is unworthy of love, but because connection requires effort, and these small shifts make it harder for others to engage. From a physiological standpoint, this is important to understand. As we age, brain chemistry changes. Dopamine and serotonin, those key chemicals for mood and motivation, tend to decrease. Pain can make it harder to focus on positive things. Hearing loss, fatigue, or mild cognitive changes can make socializing feel like work. So what comes out? Often it's complaints, worries, or a tone that sounds negative even when it's not meant to be. The tragedy is that many seniors don't even notice this happening. They may feel like they're being honest about how they feel, when in reality, they're slowly building walls around themselves. But here's where hope comes in. This isn't about blame, it's about awareness. Just as muscles can be strengthened with exercise, the mind can be trained to shift perspective. It starts with noticing patterns. Maybe asking, "Am I sharing something uplifting today? Or have I asked how someone else is doing?" Simple acts like showing curiosity or gratitude, even for small things, can completely change the energy in a room. Studies show that practicing gratitude literally changes brain activity, increasing connectivity in regions linked to positive emotions and relationships. If you're a loved one listening to this, know this: withdrawal is rarely intentional. It's usually a sign of discomfort or feeling out of place. Instead of pulling away, gently step closer, ask questions, share a laugh, bring a photo album, or talk about something new. And if you're a senior yourself, remind yourself that people are drawn to warmth, not perfection. The world still needs your stories, your humor, your wisdom. And sometimes, it only takes a small shift, a little less complaint, a little more curiosity, to open doors again. These moments of connection are not just nice to have, they are essential to health and longevity. One of the most overlooked challenges of aging is how changes in brain function affect day-to-day decision-making, especially when it comes to money. We like to believe that handling finances is simply about math or memory, but it's far more complex than that. It involves attention, judgment, and the ability to evaluate risk. As we get older, these abilities can shift, not always dramatically, but enough to create problems. Many seniors are still managing bills, investments, and bank accounts on their own. And while independence is important, it can sometimes be risky when the brain starts working a little differently. Subtle signs often show up first. A missed utility payment here, forgetting to renew insurance there, or maybe paying the same bill twice because it slipped the mind. These seem small, but they're early indicators of a change in cognitive processing speed or memory retrieval. Then there are more serious risks: unfamiliar charges on credit cards, falling for phone scams, or trusting someone who doesn't have the best intentions. Research shows that even mild cognitive decline can make people more vulnerable to persuasion and less able to recognize red flags. It's not about intelligence, it's about how the brain filters and prioritizes information. Why does this happen? As the brain ages, the frontal lobe, which is critical for planning, problem solving, and judgment, can slow down. The hippocampus, the brain's memory center, may not store or retrieve information as efficiently. Combine this with stress, medication side effects, or sleep changes, and the ability to stay sharp financially can be affected without anyone realizing it. It's easy to dismiss this as just forgetfulness, but these changes can have real consequences. A single wrong decision, a trusted signature on the wrong document, or giving out information to a scammer can cost someone their savings, independence, and peace of mind. This is not meant to alarm, but to prepare. The best defense is awareness and support, not shame. Setting up systems early can make a huge difference. Automated bill payments, alerts for unusual bank activity, and simple budgets reduce mental load. Involving a trusted family member or financial advisor before problems arise can preserve dignity while adding a layer of protection. Some families even create dual control systems, two sets of eyes on accounts, not because someone is incapable, but because even the sharpest minds benefit from backup. For seniors, this is not about losing independence, it's about staying ahead. For families, it's about starting gentle conversations early, before mistakes happen. Ask questions like, "Would you like me to help set up automatic payments?" Or "Would you feel safer if we checked your accounts together once a month?" These small steps build trust and reduce risk. Aging changes the brain, but it doesn't have to mean losing control. With planning, openness, and compassion, seniors can continue managing their resources confidently and safely. The key is to accept that vigilance is not weakness, it's wisdom. There's a quiet kind of isolation that many older adults face today, and it doesn't come from distance or illness, it comes from technology. Think about how quickly our world has shifted. Banking, healthcare, grocery shopping, even basic communication have all moved to screens. For younger generations, it's second nature, but for many seniors, this can feel like being locked out of their own lives. The simple act of booking a doctor's appointment may now require an app. Paying a bill might mean navigating a website with endless passwords and confusing security steps. It's not about intelligence, it's about the speed of change and the unfamiliarity of tools that were never part of their world for most of their lives. Socially, this divide can grow even wider. A birthday invitation might be shared on a messaging app, family updates might arrive as photos or videos online, and conversations often happen on platforms they've never used. When seniors can't access these spaces, it's not just an inconvenience, it's a form of quiet exclusion. They begin to feel like outsiders in a world they helped build. A grandparent who once held a family together with Sunday dinners might now miss the joy of seeing a grandchild's first steps because it's shared in a group chat or streamed online. Technology also opens doors to new risks. Research shows that older adults are more likely to be targeted by online scams because they may be less familiar with recognizing digital red flags. It's not that they're careless, it's that the cues for danger have changed. Instead of a stranger at the door, it's a message that looks official, a phone call that sounds urgent, or a website that appears trustworthy. And often, the embarrassment of being fooled keeps them silent, further isolating them. From a physiological perspective, learning something entirely new takes more effort as we age. Neural pathways that were once tuned to routine behaviors now have to adapt to complex tasks like touch screens, voice recognition, or two-step verification codes. Add in possible vision issues, slower reaction times, or arthritis, and what feels easy to someone else can become frustrating or even intimidating. That frustration can lead to avoidance, and avoidance can turn into disconnect. But this doesn't have to be the end of the story. Some of the most meaningful connections can be rebuilt with a little patience and intentional support. Imagine sitting with a parent or grandparent and showing them not just how to open a photo on a phone, but why it matters, helping them send an emoji to a loved one or join a video call. Small victories like these build confidence. Communities and adult care centers are also recognizing the value of tech literacy classes designed at a slower pace with clear explanations. The key here is respect. It's not about forcing every senior to be tech savvy, it's about giving them access to the things that matter. When we remove the barriers, we don't just give them tools, we give them connection, relevance, and dignity. That's worth more than any device could ever hold. One of the quietest but most damaging changes with age is hearing loss. It doesn't happen all at once, it creeps in so gradually that many people don't notice until conversations start feeling tiring. They begin to mishear a word, ask someone to repeat a sentence, or nod when they're unsure what was said. At first it's small, but slowly it begins to affect confidence. People start avoiding group settings because it's hard to follow the discussion. They might laugh at the wrong time, or miss important details. And this isn't just about sound, it's about connection. When hearing becomes difficult, the brain works harder to make sense of incomplete information, and that mental strain can be exhausting. Over time, that strain leads some seniors to withdraw, not because they don't want company, but because being with others feels like work. This withdrawal has real consequences. Misunderstandings can cause frustration, both for the person who can't hear clearly and for loved ones who may feel ignored or misunderstood. Frustration can easily turn into isolation, and isolation is a powerful driver of decline, mentally and emotionally. Studies have linked untreated hearing loss to higher risks of depression, anxiety, and even faster cognitive decline. The Times of India recently highlighted how unaddressed hearing problems affect brain function, reducing stimulation in key regions and contributing to memory issues. This is why something that might seem like a minor inconvenience, a little trouble hearing the TV or a conversation, can actually have profound effects on overall well-being. Physiologically, what's happening is straightforward. Inside the ear are tiny sensory cells called hair cells. Over time, noise exposure, genetics, or even medications can damage these cells, and once they're gone, they don't regenerate. The brain then receives less information, which means it has to fill in gaps or make guesses. That guessing game takes energy. It can make conversations stressful and lead to fatigue. And when something feels consistently difficult, we naturally avoid it. But here's the encouraging part: hearing loss is not a reason to give up on connection. Solutions exist, but they require recognition and action. Regular hearing checks are as important as eye exams or blood pressure tests, yet many seniors avoid them because of stigma or cost. Hearing aids today are smaller, smarter, and more comfortable than ever, and they don't just amplify sound, they help restore confidence. Even simple strategies make a big difference. Sitting in good lighting, facing people when they speak, reducing background noise during conversations, or using captions when watching TV. These changes remove barriers and bring back joy in simple interactions. For families and caregivers, the most important thing is patience. A loved one who seems distant may simply be struggling to hear. Instead of frustration, try understanding. Speak clearly, make eye contact, and encourage hearing checks. For seniors, remember that your voice and your presence matter. Don't let hearing challenges close the door on connection. Addressing it isn't just about sound, it's about staying engaged, staying sharp, and staying present in the lives that matter most. One of the most underestimated challenges of aging isn't always disease or mobility. It's something much quieter and more basic: what's on the plate. As people grow older, eating can become less of an event and more of a routine. For some, especially those living alone, meals shrink down to whatever is quick and easy. This is where the so-called tea and toast pattern comes in: simple, repetitive foods like bread, tea, crackers, maybe a little cheese or cereal. It doesn't sound harmful, but over time, this kind of simplified eating can take a toll on the body in ways that are easy to miss. When we're young, a skipped meal or a light diet here and there doesn't have a huge impact. But as we age, our bodies change. Muscle mass declines naturally, bones lose density, and nutrient absorption isn't as efficient. A diet that's too basic or low in protein and essential nutrients accelerates those changes. Seniors often need more protein, more vitamins like B12 and D, more calcium, and balanced electrolytes. Yet, many are eating less, not more. They may lose interest in cooking because it feels like too much effort, especially if eating alone. Taste and smell can change with age. Medications can dull appetite, and dental or swallowing problems can make chewing harder. The result: meals that are smaller, softer, less varied, and often less nutritious. The risks here are not just about weight loss. They extend to energy, immune function, and resilience. Without enough protein, muscles weaken, balance suffers, and falls become more likely. Without enough micronutrients, wounds heal slower, infections are harder to fight, and energy levels drop. Wikipedia refers to this pattern as tea and toast syndrome, and while it might sound harmless, it's associated with something called hyponatremia, low sodium in the blood caused by too much fluid and not enough nutrients. It's a silent risk because it can cause confusion, weakness, even hospitalization. From a physiological perspective, the body runs on a delicate balance of inputs. Think of food as fuel and building material. When the input is low quality or low quantity, the system compensates at first, but eventually it can't. The brain uses amino acids from protein to make neurotransmitters. The immune system needs zinc and vitamins to fight infection, and every cell depends on minerals and energy to function. When these things aren't available in enough supply, fatigue, mood changes, and health decline are almost inevitable. But this is entirely preventable. Solutions don't have to be complicated. Meals can be simple but strategic: oatmeal with nuts, yogurt with fruit, eggs, soups loaded with vegetables and beans, or ready-made balanced meals if cooking isn't an option. Families can help by prepping easy options, and caregivers can keep snacks like cheese sticks, boiled eggs, or protein smoothies on hand. Eating together, even once a week, can turn meals from chores back into something enjoyable. Nutrition in later years isn't about fancy diets, it's about consistency and quality. Paying attention to food is paying attention to life. Every small upgrade to a meal is an investment in strength, energy, and independence, and those are things worth protecting at any age. When we think of aging, we often imagine slowing down, perhaps more doctor visits, or adjusting to physical changes. What we don't always think about are the silent battles happening in the mind. Depression, anxiety, and other mental health conditions are far more common in older adults than most people realize, yet they often go unseen. They're quiet, sometimes hidden even from family, and often brushed off as just getting old. But this is not simply aging, this is suffering that can and should be addressed. Mental health struggles in seniors are shaped by unique factors. Retirement can bring a loss of purpose or identity. Friends and spouses may pass away, leaving painful absences. Health problems can limit independence. Financial stress or feeling like a burden can weigh heavily. Add to this the natural changes in brain chemistry that come with age, and it's not surprising that feelings of sadness, worry, or hopelessness can set in. The World Health Organization reports that around 14% of older adults live with a mental disorder, and these conditions are among the leading causes of disability in this age group. Yet many go untreated, because symptoms are dismissed as normal aging. There's also stigma. Many seniors grew up in a time when mental health wasn't openly discussed. Seeking help might feel shameful or unnecessary, so they stay silent. Sometimes the signs are subtle: sleeping more, eating less, withdrawing from social activities, or showing irritability. Other times it's more obvious: a loss of interest in things once loved, persistent sadness or anxiety that makes even daily tasks overwhelming. The danger is that these feelings don't just affect mood, they affect physical health. Depression, for example, has been linked to poorer recovery after illness, higher risk of heart disease, and even changes in memory and cognitive function. Physiologically, this makes sense. The brain's stress systems, hormones like cortisol, are active when anxiety or depression take hold. Over time, high stress levels can disrupt sleep, weaken immunity, and increase inflammation. Add in the loneliness that often comes with aging, and the result can be a dangerous cycle: feeling down, avoiding people, losing more support, and feeling worse. Caregivers of America points out that caregivers and family members often miss these signs because they're focused on physical needs, not emotional ones. The good news is that help works at any age. Counseling, medications when appropriate, support groups, and activities that bring meaning and connection can make a huge difference. Something as simple as daily walks, a creative hobby, volunteering, or learning something new can lift mood and restore purpose. Vital Record emphasizes that mental health care for older adults needs the same attention and urgency as any other health issue. If you're an older adult listening to this, know that these feelings are not weakness. If you love or care for one, know that a kind question or gentle conversation could be the first step to healing. Mental health is part of whole health, and when it's cared for, life at any age can feel more alive, more connected, and more worth living. So, there they are. The 6 quietly ugly habits no one tells you about. What unites them is not shame, but silence. And what dissolves them is not confrontation, but connection. To the seniors listening, you are not alone in this. And to those who love them, gentle persistence, patience, small acts of presence, these are the bridges back. Let me leave you with a vision. Imagine a circle, a dinner, a phone call, a shared laugh that you reach into. You pull someone closer, not to fix them, but to remind them, and remind yourself, that life is worth living fully, at every age. Let that be our promise: rediscovering connection, honoring dignity, and transforming, even the ugly, into something profoundly human. Your life, their life, our life, richer, warmer, together.